Fallen Doll's neural cloud seems to have successfully rebooted. She shakes her head, then struggles to prop herself up. Diane gently helps to support her into a sitting position. Doll called Colfin slowly comes to her senses. Then she seems to realize something and begins casting a searching gaze around herself. There is nobody else around except the dolls. Colfin looks like she's about to cry. Diane looks just as shocked as Zhengzhu, but she patiently waits for Colfin to calm down. I want to say sorry about if I can't pronounce the name. Colfin mutters to herself, "These people don't seem like a bad lot," and she does not help. Does need help. Sorry. After some soul searching, Colfin decides to reveal a bit of information. Diane and Zhengyu exchange looks. Upon hearing Colfin's words, Diane is now certain that she's talking about the very same commander that she knows. Gang Yu and Zhao waves to Colvin. Sorry for that slow. Colvin glances at the dolls and decides to believe in them. Then she quickly explains what just happened. Colvin shakes her head. She clearly doesn't trust them. That's right. Diane looks at Colvin and realizes that further questioning is pointless. More importantly, there are other more pressing questions she wants to ask. Colvin fiddles with her terminal and the sounds it makes indicates that it's running normally. Colvin doesn't wait for the dolls to answer before she runs off towards Helena's coordinates. The group catches up with Colvin, and after passing through the broken quarantine wall, Colvin goes a good long way before she finally comes to a halt. There's a wrecked shutter leading underground at the location where Colfin stopped. The shutter is built behind a small hill. Half of it is below ground level and it's practically invisible from afar. The shutter's outer camouflage has been blasted to bits. It was once the size of a cinema theater screen, but now it's nothing but ruined fragments that have been blasted inward as though something huge had torn through it. Orphan wrings her hands, doing her best not to let her thoughts wander toward the worst. Diane gently pats her on the shoulder, hoping to calm her down. Orphan nods. She quietly mouths the words in her heart until she can calm down and function normally. The doors approach the destroyed shutter. The interior is extremely spacious and it seems to lead to an underground passage. All this can't be just a coincidence. Diane remembers the reminder that the railway police officer just gave them. That combined with the fact that anything involving the commander is bound to be complicated makes her think that they need to be exceptionally careful with their next move. Diane looks at the pleading look in Colfin's eyes and then at her two companions. Diane turns back and nods to Colfin, replying in the affirmative. Colfin gazes into the black depths of the passage and struggles to swallow the fear in her heart. Then she sends the coordinates to Diane and company before turning on her flashlight and venturing forth. I sit down in front of the control terminal and think about my next move. With Sextans and Nemesis on the Elmo, there's no way Rosa can leave it, even if she isn't happy about it. However, there was something strange about Rosa's expression, especially when I was discussing the past with her. Still, she's the doll team's leader, so she ought to be able to handle it. We'll need some combat power to account for any sudden developments. The other dolls are way too flashy, which means the best choice is Colfin. The conclusion I reached is that I can rely on my own flexibility and Kalin's resources to take care of things in the city, but in the contamination zones, Squad 404 needs fire support from the dolls. I lightly tap the table with my knuckles and decide to split our forces up in the end. I scratch my head, then sigh heavily. The familiar pressure that once plagued me returns. I hate having to choose between a rock and a hard place. like this. Dandelion's voice comes from a strange place. I looked around and find that there is a dinner gate floating in the air right on top of my head. Dinner or diner? Since when did you gain the fetish of sleeping into diner gates? The floating diner gate that was originally intended as a smart navigator for the Elmo flies a little lower, but I still need to look up to see it. Even in a diner gate's body, this aura of smug superiority is uniquely Dandelion's. Lower myself? Who the heck even says that? So you're saying you're going to head out with us in Diner Gate's form? Who live? Who live? Oh yeah, I can totally see you doing that. However, I rise from my place in front of the command console and keep my gaze trained on the diner gate. The diner gate backs off a little to keep its distance and projects a hologram of Dandelion, as though she's standing in front of me and having a conversation. Why are you looking for me now? Of all times. It's already been 10 years, right? I just learned that Pardeus wasn't completely destroyed, and right after that you show up. The timing seems a little too much of a coincidence to me. I don't bother keeping up the banter with her. Instead, I wait for her to continue speaking. You should know the reason why. I was definitely not expecting to hear those words from you. Are you trying to persuade me to go back? Damn, straight. She, you say. I hesitate briefly, but in the end, I ask the question in my heart. And what does she want me to do? Dandelion smiles and shakes her head before raising a finger to her lips. Dandelion looks in my eyes and I met her gaze. There seems to be an inescapable power in them, forcing me to remember something that I have been trying to forget. It's obviously not the best choice, but right now, do I have the grounds to reply like that? I. The communicator beeps. I hesitate for a moment, but in the end, I pick it up. I glance at Dandelion. He shrugs the shuts off. She shrugs, then shuts off her diner gates. Hollow projection as though to say we'll have lots of time to discuss this later. I shake my head, then take a deep breath before giving Rosa her orders. Alright, have them come over to the ops room. The drone takes off from the Elmo's landing pad, and soon the massive Elmo is nothing more than a tiny speck on the ground. Helena and Colfin are on one side of the drone, while the box form of Helena's transformed defense system and I are on the other side. Inside the diner gate's body, Dandelion sprawls over a nearby crate. She taps its surface curiously, as though she's looking for a way to open it. The drone pierces through the cloud cover and the air begins to clear up. I take off my gas mask and the morning sunlight is slightly dazzling as it illuminates my face. However, it is not an unpleasant feeling. On the contrary, I actually like it. Seeing the morning sun makes me think that everything is full of hope. I turn to look at Wolfen. He's helping Helena to adjust her safety belt so she feels more comfortable. Meanwhile, Helena is looking around curiously. All this is new to her. That's just as well. I was worried Helena would be afraid of flying, but it seems my worries were unfounded. Just as I think this, I hear Meiling's voice over my earpiece. Make sure you fly us well, Meiling. Make sure you fly as well, Meiling. It took me a long time to get this drone back into flying condition. Got it. Thanks, Meiling. I'll be counting on you to get us there and land us. I end the transmission and turn to look at the diner gate that's engaged in amusing itself. Sorry. I suddenly realize that this isn't any kind of upgrade at all. I mean, you're basically just making use of your permissions to access the URNC beacon channels, right? Sounds like this diner gate before me would make a killing if I sold it to the underground brokers. Think it could cover the bill? Let's talk about something else instead. For instance, how much do you know about Helena? While the information we collected beforehand already suggested it, I suspect that she's not a fully immune individual. The only thing we can be certain of is that she's related to Paradeus in some way. Surely there's no way you're entirely ignorant of this, right? So tell me, oh endlessly busy Madam Dandelion, who is involved in great endeavors, where do you find the time to come down here and cosplay a diner gate? So you created a few clones of yourself in order to slack off? Is that it? Oh, you're making me blush. Huh? That's so. Uh, I, I'm kind of clueless about technical stuff. I'll bet Persica would love to talk shop with you though. Is this an automated defensive system? What happens if you get in? So after cosplaying Diner Gates, Dandelion's going to cosplay a box next? While the notion comes to mind, I decide not to speak it out loud lest I get scolded. This defense system is very powerful. It would help me out a lot if you could control it. The diner gate's eye like main camera whirls and narrows as though it's gotten some kind of wicked idea. Thank you. Once again, I turn to look at Helena. Olfin's head is down as she's checking her systems. I hit the PTT on my communicator twice to indicate that she should patch into the channel, and Colfin obliges. Eleanor's going to be spending a long time out of the contamination zone. This time around, is she alright? Good, we need to be prepared. Hannah begins gesticulating wildly upon seeing Colfin stop with me. Although I can't make out what she's saying over the roar of the engines, it's immediately obvious that she's trying to tell Colfin that she wants in on the conversation. As expected, the moment Colfin puts a headset on Helena's ears, her voice immediately comes onto the channel. If all the collapse contamination were cleared away, we'd be able to see things like this on the surface too. That is a mystery. Surely the great and mighty URNC will finish that task someday. Anna tilts her head from where she's sitting on the other side of the drone. Perhaps the topic was too complicated for her, but she decides to just skip over it entirely. Do you know what a holiday is? I knew it. A holiday. That's a wonderful word that's completely unconnected to my current situation. Colfin, have you ever been on a holiday? If only we had the money for that. Anna seems to be in high spirits today. Quiet you! Dandelion seizes the opportunity to slip into the conversation. and begins telling them all about my various dorky scandals from Griffin until they're doubled over in laughter. I quickly changed the subject, purely because I'm worried they'll fall off the drone from laughing too hard. Yes, that's it. Dandelion then talks about one of our previous missions. Then they are so shocked by the tale of the doll's battles and sacrifices that they can't even speak. This time I don't interrupt her. I silently listen as Dandelion narrates the past. And the faces of all my past friends and comrades come into view. The drone is flying serenely through the sky, and the sky is slowly brightening from the pink of dawn. At great length, Dandelion finally finishes telling her story. Orphan's voice sounds a little choked up over the calm channel. It was all in the past. I am not that amazing. That sounds really wrong. No. Hey. I reach out to try and grab the dandelion gate, but she nimbly evades me. She hovers just barely out of reach of my arms, maximum attention, and as I am still secured in my seat, all I can do is lower important in what? Sorry, but I have to read this. She hovers just barely out of reach of my arm's maximum attention, and as I am still secured in my seat, all I can do is glare impotently at her to indicate my displeasure. Got it, alright. Everyone settle down and prepare to descend. Mei Ling's voice draws me back to my task, and after hearing her, the others stop messing around too. I put my mask back on and signal to everyone to get ready to land. Dolphin checks her safety belt, then she has Helena check hers, while the diner gate attaches itself securely to the defense systems box. The drone slowly sinks into the cloud cover. Although I can't see the surface, I have the feeling that we're not far from our destination. Just as I'm prepared for the descent, Dolphin's voice reaches my ear and my terminal indicates It's a private transmission. Probably not. Someone will protect her and take her to a safer place. For a moment, I am at a loss for how to respond. After a brief silence, Colfin continues speaking. I'm briefly at a loss for words. There were a lot of people I didn't manage to save. That's what I want to say, but even though I open my mouth, I can't bring myself to say those words. I reflexively look at Helena, but she has none of her excitement from before. In fact, she seems to be in a daze. Colvin also notices Helena's unusual behavior and speaks to her in a concerned tone. Helena does not answer Colfin's question. I can hear her muttering quietly to herself over the channel. Just as I am about to speak to her, the drone suddenly starts shaking violently, and I immediately realize it is caused by the shaking of the box beside me. What's going on? The dynamo breaks free of its attachment and flies into mid-air to avoid being hit by the box's shaking. Did something happen to Helena? Colvin looks worried at Helena, but Helena ignores her, instead gazing into the depths of the clouds. The box instantly transforms into the three spheres, and I hurry to grab the diner gate as the shockwave of the transformation tosses it aside. The spheres fly over to Helena, slice her free of her safety belt, and carry her into the air. Colvin tries to grab her, but Helena nimbly avoids her. After glancing coldly at Colvin, Helena flies free of the drone in concede with the embrace of her spears and swiftly disappears into the clouds. Yeah, I could not see that one. Couldn't read that one. The disruption from the spears makes the drone shake violently, and I hold on tightly to the handrails to try and keep my balance. Helena, she flew away. The unbalanced drone goes into a flat spin and plummets towards the ground. I glance at the propeller next to me and see that it's constantly shifting its pitch and orientation. Clearly, Mei-Ling is doing her best to keep the drone aloft. All I can do now is let Mei-Ling handle things. I hold on to the handrail for dear life, and the blood surging into my brain makes me feel like I'm going to puke my guts out. Hold on tight. Don't fall off. Through the corner of my narrow eyes, I see Colfin clinging for dear life to the handrails. The wind is blowing so hard I can barely open my eyes. I channel all my strength into sticking the diner gate to the drone so I can free up a hand and cling ever tighter to the handrail. Mei-Ling yells over the comms channel. I've never heard her yell that loud before. Perhaps her angry yelling had an effect because the drone manages to adjust its propeller's pitch and the drone slowly stops its spinning. As we regain lift, the drone climbs hard, forcing me to change position so I don't feel so uncomfortable. At long last, the drone's flight path levels out and my blood begins flowing normally again. I take a big gulp of air as I try to recover from my stressed state. Everything happened far too suddenly, and we're all confused. However, I know our current priority is getting Helena back. Well done, Mei-Ling. I'll take more killing yet. Orphan, can you track Helena's location? Just in case I had Colfin put a tracker on Helena. Who would expected that it would come in handy even before we touched down? Send Mei-Ling the coordinates. Mei-Ling, take us there. drone immediately changes course and begins flying in another direction. My brain kicks into high gear. Was our information leaked? Are we going to get ambushed again? But this time, it was Helena herself who did it. Or does the problem lie with Helena? The diner gate that's attached to the drone looks my way. Her tone isn't as teasing as before, which is a sign of Dandelion's reliable side. I thought so too. When we first received her, the words Helena 043 were written inside her box logs. Can you help me gather information regarding that? Alright, I'll leave it to you. Mailing skillfully piloting the drone high-speed flight quickly brings us out of the cloud cover. Looking down, we can see the glow from Helena's spheres in the distance. There are flashes coming from the group where Helena is firing. I squint and see an intense firefight taking place against a not too large monster. Mailing, head for the bosom. Descend as you go. Once you reach 100 meters AGL, begin orbiting the bosom so we can observe the situation. The drone rapidly descends, and after going lower, I get a clearer picture of the situation on the ground. The not too large bosom has just flipped over a vehicle belonging to a squad of armed troops, and the forces around it are blasting it with weapons of various calibers. The bosom is heavily wounded from the attacks, but it does not move from its place as though it's protecting something. It's located in what seems like a small town, but the town seems to have been abandoned for a long time, and the ravages of war have only made it even more run down. The point of light representing Helena's if flying over the bosom. We try to follow it, but some of the armed troopers firing on the bosom actually turn and shoot at the drone instead. Bullets whiz past my ear, and with no recourse available to me, I have to ask Mei-Ling to pull up. We land first, Mei-Ling. Circle around where they can't hit us and then set us down. point of light containing Helena is now extremely close to the Belgium, but we are forced to land further away due to gunfire from the ground. Alien picks a fairly high clod of dirt as her landing spot. Before she can fully touch down, I have already ripped my safety belt off and jumped down from the drone. Olfen and the diner gate follow me. The troopers who saw the drone land begin to encircle us, and I am forced to draw my sidearm to engage them. Damn it. This was not at all what I was expecting. That's enough smog out of you. How are the surroundings? Plenty of them. I manage. Can you do anything besides scouting and scanning? Wow, what a great help you are. Half a day means that they'll be just in time to find my cooling corpse. Even if the drone went back right away to pick up Goza and the others, they take at least 2 hours to arrive. Looks like I can only rely on myself right now. I look at my handgun and regret not bringing something with a longer range, but there's no point thinking about that right now. Since the enemy doesn't know about our situation, our only chance is to hammer them hard and throw them back with speed and violence of action. Olfen, get ready for battle. Dandelion, keep up. Follow me, keep advancing. As I look in Helena's direction, I see a distant point of light flashing in all directions. Helena's automatic defense systems are firing widely at those armed units. The Belgium isn't far from Helena, but it doesn't look like it intends to attack her. Her defense systems are laying down suppressive fire on her attackers. The Bujum takes advantage of this and rampages wildly, knocking over multiple vehicles armed with heavy weapons. While I picked up a rifle from the enemy along the way, it's little more than a drop in the bucket considering the situation we're facing. I have no idea what might happen next, and I don't have enough resources on hand. All I can do is stick to cover and approach Helena's location, gathering as much intel as I can to try and formulate a solution. As I see the diner gate orbiting over my head, I suddenly think of something. Dandelion, you just said you could break through the barriers of the defensive system, right? How confident are you of doing that? That's enough. Mei-Ling, can you observe Helena's surroundings from the drone? Find me a path that's free of enemies. We need to get as close to Helena as possible. A route soon appears on my terminal. I pick up another rifle from the ground and toss it to Colfin. Use this for now. It's handier than a pistol. Just hose the enemy down with suppressive fire afterwards. We need to buy Dandelion time. If you've got any better ideas, now's the time to bring them up. Then follow me. Dandelion will need scans of the surroundings for enemies. Mark any hostiles that approach us. The diner gate flies ahead of us and clears out a path with Mei-Ling's directions and Dandelion's highlighting enemy positions. We quickly eliminate the scattered troopers that we encounter. After passing through an open area, Colfin and I jumped into a pit that's deep enough to provide us with cover. This place isn't far from Helena. The Bujum's deafening roars remind us of how close we are to the danger. We're still greenish. Clouds are closing in from the distance. Dandelion, we're moving in to hack the defense system. Can you control them and bring Helena down? Alright, bring Helena down on top of that building. There afterwards. Building there afterwards. I point to a nearby abandoned building. It is within 50 meters of Helena. Dolphin, cover me from here. I'll go there to get Helena. Just as I'm about to jump out of the pit, Dolphin grabs me by the sleeve and pulls me back in. You're just one doll. It's not like commanding you is going to be difficult. I check my ammo. I have 2 magazines left. Including the one I picked up on the way here. We should focus our firepower. Come on, let's go. Just keep up. Fortunately, there aren't many armed troops left in the area and we can pass through practically unhindered. Soon we're inside the building. It's only 2 stories high and half of it has already collapsed. I kicked open the rotten wooden door on the top floor and we arrive on the roof. We aren't too high up, but it's enough for us to see Helena's side of the battlefield. Dandelion, I'm counting on you. The diner gate that has been accompanying us turns to fly towards Helena. The Boojum is right beside her. Perhaps it's afraid of her defense systems, but it's been keeping outside of their light. Helena remains motionless in mid-air as though she's lost consciousness. The diner gate rapidly approaches Helena, and as they sense the approach of an interloper, the autonomous defense flared with light and began firing deadly beams at the diner gate. However, Dandelion's hacking is severely disrupting the enemy systems as she approaches, and the diner gates easily avoids the fired beams. The spheres begun to waver and they stop shooting. The diner gate boldly flies up to Helena and begins to examine her. orbs shake harder and harder. Their firewalls are unable to resist Dandelion's hacking. And in the space of a few seconds, Dandelion has assumed direct control over the defense system. Dandelion controls the orbs, then brings them and Helena back to the building where we are. Dolphin can't help but exclaim in approval. Well, it's Dandelion, after all. Helena isn't far from us now. Dolphin is at the observation point preparing to retrieve her. However, Helena is still looking at the bosom, then she gives voice to a heart-rending wail, to the point where even I can't hear that she's saying. What she's saying. Helena is screaming things that don't sound at all like what she would say. They hit me like an invisible shockwave, even making me feel a little dizzy. In the distance, the bosom seems to hear Helena's cry and immediately abandons its battle with the armed troops rushing towards us at incredible speeds. The diner gate leads Helena towards us, flying faster than her. Dolphin throws her rifle aside and spreads her arms in a defensive posture, ready to physically cushion the impact of Helena's fall with her body. However, the bosom emits a bloody, curdling scream and speeds up again as it charges right for us. As she sees that bosom is about to crash into the buildings, Dolphin throws me out of the building with all her might. In that moment of weightlessness, the bosom's massive body crashes into the building and swallows up Dolphin and Helena's forms. I hit the ground hard, and with the last of my stamina, I see the bosom winding between the buildings and heading into the distance. I hear Mei-Ling frantically hailing me through my earpiece, but I'm out of strength to answer and my thinking grinds to a halt.